And uh-oh, gotta start the lights. Doors opening.
Warning.
I was a little late on that.
Main bay doors opening. Please keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle at all times. Stream will begin shortly.
Invite sent to McFish. Looking for a wormy personal skull head. Are you in here, Hellbringer? I don't see you. I don't hear you. I don't know where you are. Hellbringer.
He may have gone to go warm up his pump.
Maybe. We can wait a minute here. I gotta get a different mech. If I can find it. That might be it right there. Yep. I believe that's the one. As I recall, though, I can't make it work anymore. I don't know what they did to it. I don't know what they did to me. Hellbringer, are you back? Nope. So we're going to drop. Here we go. I actually remembered to change my stream name last night when I got done playing Mechwarrior 5. Back to Mechwarrior Online, I mean. It would seem more like me to change it to Mechwarrior 5 after I was done playing Mechwarrior 5, wouldn't it?
I thought it said Mechwarrior Online all night.
No, I changed it. Well, it did last night, but I changed it. Hellbringer, are you coming into the game?
Not yet.
After I was... Oh, got to recycle then. After I got done streaming Mechwarrior 5, I then changed it back to Mechwarrior Online. So it's good to go now without me thinking about it. Of course, this time I remembered, so it's all for naught. So go over there to Spec Ops, Ghostland Spec Ops, and look at what I posted, McFish. I was back, oh gosh, I was back in 2018. I should turn some more premium time on. No reason not to. The game will go away before I end up using it all that I have banked.
So over the course of your life, have you at various times worried about global issues, or have you been pretty much relaxed?
I'm not as worried as everybody else is, but I'm concerned. Like, I feel biblically, so there's two approaches to this for me that I think through. One is biblically, we should, as stewards of the planet, take care of the planet, right? And not just rape, pillage, and burn it. And I'm from Eugene was a logging town. Well, we used up all the big old growth trees. And when it got down to only a few forests left with any old growth trees, nobody in the forest industry seemed to care that we were about to lose them all and said, well, we'll just cut them. Now, they replanted. We had lots of replanting going on, but they weren't really concerned about using up all the 400-year-old trees, and because all their mills were geared for using those trees. So I don't believe that that capitalistic businesses, although I'm a capitalist and stuff, left to their own devices without any input from humanity, is going to make the best choice on those sorts of things, and haven't historically. So there's that. And then scientifically, I think there are lots of evidence that shows that our climate's changing and warming somewhat, and that humans are at least part of that, equation, whether or not we're the biggest part, or if it's solar warming or combinations of things, I don't think matters, because we should try to do what we can to mitigate that. On the other side of the coin, I'm not really for the whole carbon credit thing. I think that's kind of, carbon tax. I think it's kind of like, kind of silly, but anything that we can do to make our production more, energy efficient and climate friendly and all that kind of stuff's great, and I'm all for it. But I do have a little less apprehension about some of it from the standpoint that we have lots of trees growing up in areas where they never used to grow before, and we're going to be able to farm up, higher latitudes and stuff. So a lot of things are going to end up moving that maybe we won't like the results of that, and so it may not be the end of the world, but it might be not what we prefer. And I think that a lot of people that are projected to drown are probably going to move before they drown, because it's going to take years for that to happen. So I'm not worried about, huge, massive, land just swallowing people up, like some people hype that to be. And then mainly though, I kind of think that we will develop a lot of technology as we start applying ourselves more and more to how we can help fix all those things, that we may I was going to try to make up a word, technolize ourselves out of a lot of it, or mitigate it to some degree. So I don't really know how bad long-term it's going to get, but I'm for doing whatever we can to minimize it. So there you go. That's my quick and dirty thinking on it.
I like the good steward of the earth part, but like so many people that call themselves Christians just ignore that part.
I don't know why, though, because it's like in Genesis, right? It starts right out that way, to tend the garden. And I just don't understand. I don't understand, like, I'll tell you another story. I've got a guy who's friends with me, and he goes to a cowboy church and plays guitar. And he goes because he likes to play the guitar. And there's other churches he could go to, but he has fun playing there, and he plays kind of folky country stuff a lot anyway. He's a pretty good guitar player, but he's 70, okay? And he decided not to get the vaccine. To some degree, he's more conservative and further right than I am on a lot of political things. And he decided, I think partially with influence from this particular pastor at this church, that they're not real pro-vaccine. He didn't get the vaccine. He was, They shut down when there was the shutdown, and then after about 3 or 4 weeks, they decided to open back up again, and people could wear masks or not. But they kind of have a culture of, well, let's not, right? Which I can see where a church might want to open up and mask and keep distance and stuff, but they didn't seem that was what they wanted to do. So the pastor's on the worship team and plays up on the platform. I don't know what he plays. Piano, I think. And he didn't get vaccinated. And the bass player on the worship team didn't get vaccinated. And they both got, all three of them, my friend and they got COVID. And the bass player was in the hospital for 3 weeks. And the pastor was in the hospital and almost died, and he's still on oxygen since last August, I think. Since last August, right? It's crazy. And just because he didn't want to take the vaccine. And I don't understand that. And what I also don't understand, because it's a simple equation, right? It's like, is the government forcing me to do something that's against my religious convictions? Well, maybe they want to, but is it really that big a deal in most cases? Unless you're a woman that is expecting to get pregnant and you're not sure if that's going to be good for your baby because there's been no research on, infants yet, or, fetuses, then sure, take your time and be cautious. That totally makes sense. And I don't have any problem with some woman making that decision. But hang on, I'm trying to shoot something. But for most of us, it's like, well, this is an inconvenience to take this vaccination. It's by now there's enough numbers to know that, yes, there's some risk, and some people have died from it. So yeah, there's some risk. But compared to the much more real risk of, especially if you have any kind of comorbidities, the much more real risk of having a really serious problem from it, it seems like a no-brainer to take the dumb vaccine, right? You would think, to most people. And yet, I've got a few friends that's just not something that makes sense to them, and I don't understand that. So anyway, and more about my friend, is he got sick, and he was sick for about 10 days, but it was like a light flu. It wasn't really bad for him. No, he did get vaccinated. So he could have kept working. He didn't feel that bad. And it was just kind of not a big deal for him, but his friends, that pastor and the bass player, they almost died. And then his ex-wife, who had a head injury in a car accident years ago, and it kind of made her cuckoo, and they ended up getting split up and divorced, and it was messy and it was a mess. She had a pre-existing condition of asthma, bad asthma, and she got it in her head that she shouldn't take this vaccine, so she didn't take it. And she contracted it similar time frame. Was it about 5 months later? So she contracted it. She ended up in the hospital. She had to go on oxygen. She was not getting enough oxygen, so they put her on when they put the mask on, they have pressurized oxygen to get it further into your lungs, but they're not tubing it in. And she kept pulling the mask off when she'd come around, and they had to intubate her, and then she never woke up. She died 3 or 4 weeks ago. And he wasn't really close to her anymore because they'd been apart for a long time and stuff. But it was really because she wouldn't get vaccinated. And I don't understand, first of all, what pastor in his right mind would say, look at his congregation and see there's maybe 30% of them are older people, maybe more, right? Those older people are the most at risk. They're the most frail. They're also, coincidentally, his biggest, most solid members of that church for serving people and helping people and tithing. Now, how many of those people can you look out in your church and say, well, I could lose 4 of those, or more, or 10 in a big church, or 20? I can't imagine thinking that. And now I'm so far off the topic, I don't remember what the original question is because I'm on a bender. So what was the question?
I don't mind flow of consciousness. I had a friend at work. She was an old lady, fat and smoker, and she's exactly the kind of person that COVID kills.
Yeah.
And she didn't really have the chance to get the vaccine. She died too fast.
Too soon before it was out, you mean?
Yeah.
That's terrible. It's just really sad. And we know people that they almost died, or they were on oxygen for months. I've got a friend that I know from middle school that works at Costco, and he got it over a year ago. And it took him a year before he felt like he was mostly back to normal. And he still hasn't got his full sense of smell back, and he still gets tired sometimes faster than he normally would. It's been almost a year and a half now.
My wife works
Dave
at
GT.
2 hospitals, and she at various points in time was aware of the load, essentially. And she works
The
at
load
a
of the
place
number of
with
patients coming in, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Critical care and emergency care, and they just didn't have capacity to do any of the normal stuff because there were so many COVID patients.
Right.
And at the same time, you got people in the media saying the hospitals are empty and it's fake. It's so weird.
I don't understand it. And I don't understand how, it was really frustrating when, initially, when Fauci said, you don't need masks, they're ineffective. And then in the next article down, or even in that same article on the CDC website, there's stuff about you don't need to wear masks, blah, blah, blah. They're effective. You don't know how to use them. You're more likely to get infected if you do use them because you don't use them properly. And besides, healthcare workers need to wear them. And it's like, oh, so they work. You just don't have enough. Now, I figured that out in about 3 minutes by reading what they'd posted.
Yep.
Right. And I bought some N95 masks that would take probably 3 weeks to get here. So this is way back. But it was long. It was months before they said, you need to mask. You have to mask. You better get masks, blah, blah, blah. And so I know that a lot of people felt like they were lied to by some of it. I'm sure was just human bumbling, right? But some of it was just outright looks like lying. But even then, you can still weed through enough if you're looking, I think, carefully to know this is a serious, nasty bug. And you don't want to get it. And you don't want anybody that you love to get it. And taking basic precautions, yes, it's inconvenient. Yes, it's uncomfortable. And yes, it's a hassle. But who cares? I'm a conservative Republican who doesn't like my governor of whoever the governor is, Kate Brown here in Oregon. Generally, I don't like a lot of her policies, but I applauded her openly and told my friends that I was glad that she shut down the schools when she did and wish she'd done it even sooner. Why? Because kids transmit this disease really quickly, and no, they're not going to get sick probably as nearly as badly. And we're starting to know that already then. But they've got parents and they got grandparents and they're around them and they could infect them without ever knowing. And so the quickest way to slow down the vector on this baby was to shut schools down. And bless her heart, she took a tough lot of flack and she shut it down. And I think it was a great move on her part. So I don't know. Jessica is, we've got Jennifer's mom who's 75 that we want to keep her alive. And 80, she's 95 and this would probably kill her pretty much for sure. And so she's been vaccinated now and boosted and all that kind of stuff. And so she's in much less danger now, but I don't even want her to have to get it if possible. And yet at the same time, I want people to live a life. So I get the frustration that people have, where they're, not able to work or things like that. But my daughter, she is a singer and she's read some stories about quite a few people. I don't know what the percentage is. I don't know how to quantify that, who have gotten lung problems, and they've been singers, and they can't sing for months or a year from this stuff, even if they've been vaccinated. So she's terrified. I wouldn't say terrified, I'm overstating, but she's always stressed and apprehensive about being around groups, especially if people aren't all masked. And even then, it's kind of stressful for her, partly because she's, lives in stress like my wife does, and partly because it would affect her entire choice of, life career if she got something that lingered for a long, long time. So she's, pretty apprehensive about all that stuff. Me, I'm vaccinated, triple vaccinated. I'm not in great health, but I'm not, I don't have any underlying things other than being overweight. So I'll probably survive, and I'm not that worried about it. And I know that the natural immunity from having it is only going to be better than the vaccinations, and probably everybody's going to get this thing at some point if it's the Omicron variant is so easily transferable. So I'm not under a delusion that I'll never get it or anything. But I don't want to rush out and go have a COVID party, right? So I don't know. It's just kind of dumb. Ramble. So Miss BNR, I'm sorry, I was interrupting your chat. It says a girl went to school didn't want to get vaccinated because she was scared it would mess with her fertility, and she wanted to have more kids. She caught it and died last year. And left behind 2 kids. That's so tragic. And that's one of the few cases where I understand, because they didn't have any. Normally they do like 10 years of testing for fetal effects, and they had none of that with this vaccination rounds. With these, I guess they're just called vaccinations. So I could see why she might be comprehensive or apprehensive about that if she knows she wanted to get pregnant. But that's horrible. And I would certainly be cautious if I was going to, I'm not probably going to have a baby because I don't know how to get, I don't know how I would get pregnant. I know how people get pregnant, don't get me wrong. I kind of got the basics.
Target spotted. Target spotted. Target spotted.
Sorry about that, fire starter. She jumped in front of me, mate.
Okay.
Target spotted. Target spotted.
Guns are jammed. Who? Somebody shot me? Oh, nope, just jammed.
Need assistance. Target spotted.
Tempted to come down there and give them a piece of my mind, my mech's mind.
Target spotted.
Target destroyed.
Target spotted.
We're Alpha coming around.
Target spotted.
Darn it. Of course he wants to kill me. Is this him here?
Down below Alpha.
I don't know if I'm shooting the right guy anymore or not.
I got stuck in some dude.
I just start shooting mechs whether they've got a Cheeto on them or not.
Target spotted.
Snakehead, turn around. There's a lot of stuff on the low. Look.
Oh, thank you. I only saw none when I started turning.
Going after India.
Destroyed. Right torso critical damage. Ultra autocannon destroyed.
Sorry.
Target destroyed.
Target
New
spotted.
target acquired.
Lure this fiber can jump.
Target spotted.
Oh.
Target destroyed.
Target spotted.
Target acquired.
Got one on our left right around the...
Target spotted.
Target acquired.
Well, at least I didn't die.
And not in the circle.
You can't go up the little hill because the step's just too big.
Circle.
There he is.
Victory is within our grasp. Target spotted.
It's 11-1, and victory is just slightly out of reach, but maybe it's within our grasp.
Warriors, you have taken the target. We are victorious.
Good work, guys. Thanks. Dave GT, how you doing? So not a lot of damage, but I got a kill. This is the... I'm just not very good in this mech anymore. I used to be really good in it. Like several of my mechs I was really good in, and then they did that big balance, and now I'm just not any good in anything anymore. Which probably means the people who were really good then were monsters before in those mechs. All right, let me get over.
I get not wanting to take a vaccine for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But there are multiple people that I've heard stories of, they're on transplant lists, and they're literally going to die if they don't get the vaccination because they're not going to get the organ they need to live unless they're vaccinated.
What? So 2 questions. Why would they do that? And then second, why would they have to make that choice?
Well, you have to be on immunosuppressants when you get an organ transplant, so you're very much at risk.
Oh, I
You want to
see.
be
But
vaccinated.
so
You have
they
to be
figure that
vaccinated
if
for
they,
everything that there's a vaccine for, basically.
I see. So that's just standard procedure, basically. It's not.
Yeah.
It's
It
not
was
that they're
the same
calling
before
out.
COVID.
Yeah, they're not just calling out anti-COVID people. They're just saying this is what we have always done, and you should take this because you could likely die of the infections if you catch anything. Yeah. And that makes sense, right? And I think a lot of times there's like reasons that don't get spread out that people don't know about, and you hear the reasons, you go, well, that makes sense. But neither side likes to really get that communication going very well, it seems like. It's like whenever Jennifer and I read each other a crazy headline, either one of us says, what's the other side of that? What's the real, the full story going on here? Because and it's not any different like when I do marriage counseling. I don't anymore, but when I used to do marriage counseling, there's always 2 people, and there's 2 perspectives, and there's two people that are hurt, and there's 2 people that are, disappointed or whatever, or frustrated from 2 different perspectives. And if you don't understand what those are, you're not going to help them, because you got to look at the full picture.
Are you familiar with the Paul Harvey, The Rest of the Story?
Oh my gosh, I haven't heard of that for so long. Yeah.
That used to be a popular thing, like hearing a story that on the surface doesn't make sense and then learning how to understand it.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, how can you watch somebody destroy the other person with not logic? It's something else now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think sadly we've lost the ability to have civil dialogue in so many areas, even in people's friendships. It's really sad. I mean, I know people that have defriended other people on either side of that equation, politically or vaccination wise or whatever, and they would rather, I guess they'd rather retreat into what they know is true than to have it challenged by dialogue or bother with somebody who's stupider than them. And it doesn't matter, one side or the other, they all do it. And it's like, well, if you don't care about people who are stupider than you, then what are you going to do when somebody needs to care about you and they think you're stupider than them? It's a bad way to do the world, I think. Hellbringer, are you in yet? Make sure you tell us when you are, because I have no idea.
I think it's informative to look back at what happened back in the Spanish flu in the early 1900s, and
Yeah.
to look at some of the stuff in the newspapers. Like, people were saying that the masks were, not necessary, and it was a violation of their freedom or whatever.
Really clear back then?
It's interesting that these weird concepts.
But when
have
was
been
that?
around
What was?
before.
Yeah, what was the date of the Spanish flu? It was quite a while ago, right?
Something like 1917.
So how aware were we of viruses being airborne transmitted back then?
I don't really know if the science was there to show that to the common person.
Yeah.
And even now, like, my mom still doesn't believe in the bacteriological theory of disease.
She doesn't?
No, demons cause sickness, Dark.
Well, oh my gosh. You need to lock your mom in a room with me for a few weeks. You shouldn't do that to me, though. That would be... I don't... Like, what... Okay. I don't know what percentage of the Christian population is that far into that realm. I just don't know. I can't think of any that are, of all the thousands of people that I know. So she's really far over there.
She's a preacher these days.
And she's probably got friends that are that same way, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, if she's up there preaching, then certainly some of the people must
She's
share her
actually
beliefs.
preaching
Yeah.
Reactor online.
at, like, is it her own church, or do they just let her preach?
Weapons
I believe it's a small church in Kansas.
So anybody they can get probably is good enough. Maybe she's very charismatic in her speaking. I don't know.
Hello, everybody.
Wow.
G'day.
Wow. There's a mug I want to make, or a bumper sticker, and all it says is, I can't words. That's how I feel right now. I can't words.
It made for some good stories.
It really does. It really does. Your mom's stories are always like, to me, it's like, no.
The olive oil on the doorknobs to keep the demons out was pretty interesting to me.
See, I would think that would make it taste better, right? So the demons might come to, maybe toss some salad around it or something. I don't know.
I mean, apparently demons are limited to going through doors, and they have to use the doorknobs.
What about the
locks don't
windows?
work.
Can they go through the windows?
I don't know. I think she put olive oil there too.
Oh. Does she use garlic for, like, what about vampires? Does she believe in vampires and stuff?
I don't believe that she believes in vampires, but maybe.
Because there's more. I mean, you can at least get a little bit towards vampires with people who are allergic to or react to sunlight. I don't remember what the disease is called, but
Target spotted. Target spotted.
target acquired.
Target spotted.
We need to trap him down in there.
Target spotted.
boy, we're all over the
Target
place.
spotted.
So we need to push one side or the other, guys. If we're all spread out and they take advantage of it.
Centurion, do damage before you die. They will kill you fast. Do damage.
Target spotted.
I guess we're split.
Guys, cover the Centurion and don't let them come out.
Target spotted.
Keep them locked down in there.
You keep them locked down there.
Critical.
Target spotted. Target spotted. Target spotted.
Crossing.
New target acquired.
Cover the Centurion. Never mind.
Not much I can do.
You did well, very well.
Enemy forces at 75%. Target spotted. Target spotted.
Need some help with this guy.
Target spotted.
Can't fire half the time.
Looks like only half of the enemies remain.
Can't hit him either.
Target spotted.
Guess I can move in on these guys a little bit.
You guys got a light behind you around Echo 6, Delta 6.
Target spotted. The enemy has started to chip away at us. Stay frosty.
New target acquired.
Target spotted.
My deserved kill.
Target spotted.
Target destroyed.
All remaining. Crush the cowards.
And the bonus.
Target spotted.
Target acquired.
Okay.
Where'd that Marauder go? Guess he got stomped on.
Target spotted.
Target
Hostiles are
acquired.
eradicated. Bask in the glory of your
Good
triumph.
job, Max.
Good job.
I know vampires would be ridiculous. I'm just saying that at least there's a little bit of a medical anomaly there that could cause people to like stay in the shadows and out of the sun and, you know, perpetuate that thinking. And they might carry, you know, garlic in their pockets around their neck, or they might have, you know, an aversion to wooden stakes and silver bullets. You never know. I'm not saying there are vampires. I'm just saying that there's, I could see where somebody might go down that road. How did I do? I did okay. 437. McFish with 2 kills and 591. Oh yeah, do they play with snakes?
No,
McFish?
she didn't. She didn't do that. Those people were silly.
Oh, well, she's at least there's hope for her. That's true.
But if she was in Arkansas, she might have done it.
Oh man. I do like this mech. I like the paint job on it. It looks cool. It's got lots of ouchie ouchie. We did visit a church here in town that was kind of on the outskirts of town that it was called Acquire the Fire. And they had a great teen ministry, but the church itself was really charismatic in the ways that make me feel uncomfortable as a charismatic church, you know, lineage. Laying on the middle of the floor and moaning and howling and that kind of stuff. It's like, come on.
So many, many moons ago, maybe 20 years ago now, I went to church with a friend of mine from work.
Hey, Drax.
Mostly because I had had a nightmare where there was this tornado and it ripped my house up, and I prayed out to God in my nightmare, and the deal was I would go to church and figure out if anything was there if I landed safely or whatever. I don't remember.
Okay.
It's been 20 years. Anyway, so I
Had you just watched The Wizard of Oz?
maybe I got with this guy
okay.
Pat.
Yeah.
He said, he's a good Christian. He's going to find the right church for me. He was very skeptical at first until I told him the whole story. But then it wasn't like, let's go right away, Tim, on Sunday. It was week after week. Pat, have you found the right church yet? And he's like, no, I want to make sure we get the right one. And, Pat's expectation is somebody's going to get a word of faith from God and the Holy Spirit or whatever, and they're going to understand my dream and interpret it.
So he's looking for the whole shooting match.
Miracles.
There. Yeah.
And that sort of thing.
Did Pat go to a church like that? Or he had to go find one because his wasn't good enough, right? So we don't get all that stuff. We got to find a real church or something. What?
Anyway, so the place he took me, I was so reassured in my atheism by going to this church. They spent the whole time, from my perspective, trying to convince themselves.
Really? How so?
Well, so your son is alive. Is that right?
My son,
Do you
yes.
have a son?
Yeah. Actually, I have a son, a daughter, and a trans somewhere in between.
Do you spend all day telling your whole family that your son's alive? Like, if he's alive.
Well, during COVID, we do. We call each other and say, "Are you still alive?" So we do that daily now. But before that,
you don't repeat it like 60 plus times in an hour.
He is alive. He is alive.
Yeah. Like, if it is evident to you and you believe it, you don't really have to repeat it that much.
No,
and
I don't.
These people were all about just brainwashing the audience into having a belief.
It was just like a repetitive kind of chanting sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, they did songs and worship and all this, but it ultimately boiled down to that from my perspective.
Yeah.
Reactor online. Sensors.
Like every other phrase was, he's real, he's alive, etc.
Interesting.
All systems manual.
Interesting.
For many years after leaving the church, I was very nervous. I thought I was going to go to hell as a non-believer, which is a really weird thing to think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But going to church that one last time, like, really, really comforted me.
Well, church is supposed to be a comforting place, I think.
Well, I mean, it comforted me in not believing.
I know. Oh my gosh. I was thinking about a story. I don't know if I've told this. I may have told this story before. At the church we were on staff at years ago, and I was the youth pastor and led worship sometimes and stuff. Half my youth group were not Christians. They just came because I loved them and other kids loved them, and some of them were on drugs and some of them were sleeping around. And we had kind of the whole range of kids. And this one family, they had 7 kids, I believe. The Meachams was their last name, and Amy Meacham was in my group, and her sister, what's her sister's name? Gosh, Amy and not Nancy. Nancy was the mom. I can't remember the other daughter's name at the moment. Anyway, they lived here in town, and they were very, very, I won't say they were as far as your mom was, but they were pretty darn more further than I was as far as some of this stuff, right? And but you could tell they loved their kids. They had trouble with their one of their daughters, who was just strong-headed, and her dad and her, and he was super authoritarian and, my way, the highway kind of guy. I don't know that he was really that way, but that's the way she felt like it was. I'm sure he could have come across that way pretty easily. Anyway, he you could tell he loved his kids, so that wasn't a question. It was just his style and her style. They meshed. It didn't mesh well, and it was difficult for both of them because of that. And they moved away because he got a job somewhere that paid well, and they decided it was probably good for them to do. And I think he might have, I just heard it from the mom, that she communicated this back to us. They might still have been in town. It's been so long, I don't remember those details. I've got the article, though, from later that I should go look at and refer. It doesn't have those details in it. But we knew this family, right? And knew this guy, and knew these kids. And this girl that was the toughest, the hard one, she showed up. She went missing on Halloween one Halloween, and they were freaked out, and they couldn't find her, and they wanted to know if she was alive, right? And because she did drugs all the time, and they just didn't know what the case was. And they said, "Could you help?" They called me on Halloween and said, "Could you help us, find her, make sure she's okay?" So we're out looking for her, Amy. Late at night, like in 1 a.m, they called me. I was driving around. They called me and said, "We found her. Could you come to our house?" And we're talking with her. And I said, "Sure." So I drove over there, got into their house, and in their tiny little kitchen, at a tiny little kitchen table with a single light hanging over it, almost swinging back and forth, was this girl in tears, and a mom in tears, and a dad pacing back and forth, just fit to be tied. And it was like a scene out of a movie, and not pleasant for anybody. And anyway, so she moved with them because she was in high school still. And he had heard, he believes that he had heard God tell him before or right after they moved that he was going to die within a year, I think a year, maybe 2 years, but he just felt he got this clear word from God saying, "You're going to die, get your house in order, do everything you need to, because the clock's ticking," right? That's not exactly what he said, but that's the gist of it. And, that's a pretty strong, I would kind of want a second opinion if I thought I heard God say that, because I'm pretty fuzzy when I hear God anyway. But he got life insurance, and he found a way to get extra work to pay the house off. And he wrote letters to all of his kids and made sure that they knew that he loved them, and he told them that he believed this was going to happen. And life was going on, and one morning he woke up on a Saturday morning, and the neighbor across the street was blaring music super, super loud. And so he, got up and went over and knocked on the door to pound on the door to ask him to turn the volume down. And the guy who answered the door had a gun and shot him dead right then. And then he killed himself. And it was almost a year to the day, or 2 years, whatever the time length was. And I don't really have an explanation for that, other than God told him, and he heard, and he did what he had to do. I don't usually have stories that are that obvious, but that one, I've kind of remembered that for a long time.
Don't do it. Invite me.
I'm hovering over the launch button. Hey, Drax.
Hi.
And I remember and then there was an article about him and his family in their local newspaper, and they kind of recounted some of that. And I'm thinking, gosh, we know these guys. We're friends with these guys. We knew this. This is just kind of utterly amazing. Utterly, not as in the cow udder sense. Wait a minute. I didn't see this story going in that direction. Now my skirt story just seems silly. Oh wait, I didn't see the skirt story. Last time I went to church, I got shamed for wearing knee-length skirt. The guy I went with didn't tell me that all the women wore ankle-length skirts. Seriously, you hussy?
I don't mean that. Miss BNR knows I don't
Miss
mean
BNR. I can't believe he would call you a hussy. That's funny. The Bible college I went to, girls had to wear skirts or dresses to chapel, and I think they wanted knee length, basically. And guys didn't have to. We didn't have to wear skirts to chapel for some reason. And
Did you wear shorts?
No, guys couldn't wear shorts on campus, or neither could girls unless they were going to or from an athletic event or activity. Which, for me, after classes, I always cut out and went to the lake and went sailing. So I always said, A, I don't live on campus, and B, I'm going sailing.
And what about tank tops? Can you wear tank tops?
I think that men were allowed to wear wife beaters. No, I'm just joking.
Wife beaters. I mean, wow.
That's a they're called wife beaters. They're like the tank tops, right?
I know, but I was amazed in a family-friendly stream how you would use that term. But that's good.
It's the slang for the term. I thought it'd be a more funny delivery of the joke if it was. Yeah, never mind. So no, I think they wanted guys to just, they could wear jeans or pants or whatever, and T-shirts were fine typically. So it was a very double standard, and I thought it was pretty dumb back then in a double standard. And the girls had to be in by 11. We've talked about this before, or I have. And the guys didn't have a curfew, but the girls had to be in by 11. At the people that lived on campus on the dorms. And it's like, it was dumb. I just hit cancel, which was dumb, thinking that Hellbringer might be here by now, but maybe he's not. So recycle. I'm sorry, guys. They also had a class called, so Miss BNR, I don't think you're a hussy. You're fine. But certainly some churches are more straight-laced than others. I get that.
Well, like in the Jewish faith, they say Orthodox synagogues, there was a tendency, I remember going into a few, there was a tendency to have the women, depending on the synagogue itself, they would sit separately. So the women would be upstairs in the upstairs pews, and the men would be downstairs, for example. Like Orthodox Judaism sort of does that sort of stuff. Progressive synagogues don't, at least the ones I've gone to, they don't. But that'd be another way. I mean, if they really wanted to, if they're really worried about the
go ahead and ready up again, Drax.
If they're really worried about the whole, show your ankles, so show some flesh and distract us from praying kind of nonsense, then why not just have them sit separately?
Why not just not let the men come?
Yeah, and that would solve a lot of problems, because then they could watch football at home and actually
that would solve a lot of problems.
But then you'd really be punishing the women, wouldn't you?
No, they'd get to be away from the men for a while. It'd be like a break.
So going to church actually means something else for the women, right?
No,
it's not actually going to church.
No, I'm just joking again. I'm probably going to get myself in trouble.
So you still go to church, obviously. Do you?
Actually, we have not been going for the last several years because Jennifer and I have been through some really difficult, horrific, in some cases, experiences with senior pastors at 3 different churches. And the last one was kind of like, okay, we need to take a break. We just need to back out of this. And we've always been in ministry. We've always been, involved in people's lives and trying to help people. And you expect, ultimately, intellectually, I don't really believe that pastors are any different than anybody else. They're flawed, right? And they're going to make mistakes. The problem I have is that we tend to put, in my denomination at least, and I'm sure this is true in other denominations to some extent, but in my denomination at least, they tend to put people in that appear to be good on a lot of merit type things and thus qualified, but sometimes their life is a little messed up, and they tend to then bring that mess to the people underneath them that they have authority over. And I have a real problem with that. because I think that biblically pastors have a higher responsibility, right? And the responsibility that I think they have, besides leading a pretty good life and loving their spouses and taking care of their kids and all that kind of stuff, is to be kind to people and not steal and things like that. And so when I see a pastor that treats his staff poorly, like really poorly, I lose respect for that guy as a pastor. I know he's still just a human, just flawed, but I start to think, well, you should not be in this role if you can't, do the basics of what being a Christian is.
And obviously you don't want to talk about it because I know you've touched on this a few times, but
yeah, I don't want to tell people.
But that attitude or that judgment has gotten you into,
No, it hasn't gotten me into trouble. It's just that I've seen it enough, and my family's been the recipient of some of that behavior towards not just other people in the congregation and other staff, but of us personally. And to protect my family and protect my wife and protect myself, we've just said we're done for a while. So that we kind of backed out, and we haven't. That there's a church that we would go to if we were going, but every time we go, we just get sad because it just kind of brings it all up, and so we're obviously not ready yet, but we will. We're just kind of still healing through that kind of stuff because we believe that it's really good for us. We believe it's good for other people, but the cost was high enough the last couple times that we just needed a break. So now we're, doing that.
I've heard plenty of stories, and it's probably obviously still a minority considering how religious.
It is a minority.
I've heard plenty of stories though how children in particular are affected. Let's just say that. And I'm not even talking about some of the more extreme things. I'm just talking about the strictness of some religious families. I feel sometimes places a lot of burden on the children, and it does affect them later into early adulthood.
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Yeah, but see, and I'm sure that's true. I don't really disagree with that. My kids were never spanked. I've never hit my kids. I've never yelled at my kids. Never spoken in anger at my kids or belittled them or been, mean to them in any sense or way ever. So they don't even know what that is. And I don't think it's made them worse people for it. So I wouldn't change that. And they certainly aren't wild because of that. They're fantastic people and they were fantastic kids. We just didn't see the value in. But seriously, why do you? I think we slapped one of the kids' hands once when he did something that he knew he wasn't supposed to do. That was, so it was a defiance thing. I think Jennifer slapped his hand, the back of his hand, and then he looked at her and he said, "That didn't hurt." So he's like full defiance mode. So then she slapped it harder, and then he welled up. But that was the worst thing that ever happened to him, I think.
But I don't even know if it's. So it's more the psychological stuff than actually any discipline.
Oh, right.
That I've heard.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And again, given the amount of religion that exists in a lot of different countries, it's like, well, this must be the minority, but they certainly are sort of loud stories that stick in my mind.
Well, I think you'll find those same. It's like I can tell you, working with youth kids for 35 years, I can tell you that I've got far more experience with. Literally, probably 1,000 kids that I knew pretty well, right, over the years.
Yeah.
And many of those kids, their parents didn't go to church; they just came, and their parental home life was horrible often. So it's not just Christians. It's just when you hear about Christians doing it,
no.
They should know better, right? They should know better.
Right. I didn't particularly. I'm not pointing out.
No, yeah, I know.
Gender per se, but.
Target spotted. Need assistance.
Anyway.
And I know. All of it makes me really, really heartbroken to some of it.
All your targets, share your armor.
Can we push this? It's a bunch of 4 lights, guys. Just push them.
Basics never change, guys.
Come on. Push these lights. We've got the most people here. Push them.
They can't
Wipe
hear
out
you.
this land.
You're not showing up on comms.
Push the lights, guys. Push them. They're only
Direwolf coming. Delta 6. Direwolf coming. We need
Hard now.
This is such a waste.
I don't think they could hear you on comms. I didn't see you on the voice in-game VoIP popping up.
I came up for me, so I don't know. When you see like 8 guys and you see only 1 lance, the obvious thing is to push them. Anyway, this is going to be another. I don't think I'm going to play for long.
Target acquired.
Hotel.
Target acquired.
This thing sure jams like all the time now. Didn't used to jam so much. Maybe that's what they nerfed. They just made it not work.
Well done.
Okay, so there's 1 mech in E7. Just turn around and shoot it. 1 mech in E6. Lower ground. Don't overexpose.
Watch that fox line. The 6 diagonal. They got blue laser down in the valley. You guys want to spread out and come down the field in a line together.
If you're worried about the time, you can kill that beta if you want. But you just need to shoot at someone in the circle.
Who's the guy that I can't see? Like there's an enemy mech box over here that was flying up in the air. What was that?
Alright, pushing down.
Need assistance.
Let's go.
Affirmative. Target spotted. Target spotted.
Foxtrot, Shadow Cat.
All these little ripples here. Woohoo!
Target spotted.
Oh, who's shooting at me? There you go.
Need assistance.
Target destroyed.
Target need assistance.
Target acquired.
Why does this fool think I won't get up close to him?
It doesn't fire when I click the firing button.
Destroyed.
Thank you, GT Comment.
It doesn't fire.
No, I click the button and nothing happens. It's kind of dumb. I don't really know what's going on.
Target spotted.
Are you alive?
Yeah.
I can't spectate. Oh, here we go. I can.
You're brilliant, sir.
Were you jammed?
Yeah, it wasn't jammed. I looked down, it was fine. Sometimes it gets jammed. It seems to get jammed a lot. So,
Yeah, I know. Is it maybe your keyboard button or your joystick button?
no, it's my mouse I'm firing with. It should be fine.
Okay. No.
He's dead. I'm shooting at a dead mech.
Well done,
Well, it turned out to be a good game.
Yeah.
I just was a sacrificial lamb at the beginning.
This is the match I just posted. This mech is what I did 1,400 plus damage in before they
Yeah,
did
I
the
saw.
pass.
That's great.
Yeah, but I can't get it to do anything anymore, and it just jams all the time. So they must have nerfed, added jamming rate to it.
So
or
Mad
something.
Cat's are getting retweaked. I think in the March patch. I might be wrong. There's been a few things bantered about.
Are they going to make them worse?
Seems like these tweaks are just moving the variants into what they're strong at. So DACA variants become a little bit stronger, I suspect, or a little bit more defensive, i.e. more armor, for example. I really don't know what... I don't know if it's going to be for the Mad Cats, if it's actually going to happen in March or not.
Yeah.
Well, it definitely jams a lot now.
Well done, everyone.
I don't know what
Well, I
did
noticed
damage-wise,
on the
but
Ice
not a lot.
Ferret, which has a quirk for it not to be damaged. Sorry, not to be jammed as much. Like it's got I think it's a 30% reduction in jamming chance, and I find it doesn't. Well, Maybe it's just because you only remember the times it jams. You know, maybe that's the problem. It's just one of those things that you
maybe
only remember the times
Mittens.
it jams. Not when it doesn't.
Welcome.
But it does feel like that, Frank. But I mean, there are plenty of players who do quite well in it still. So you feel like, well, you've got to play it.
Okay, I've missed all the chat. I need to jump back up there. Church of God's pretty conservative, especially down south. Not so much in like California, and not so much up here in the Pacific Northwest. I think that's a general rule anyway. I mean, or a rule of thumb. I mean, it's not a rule they have to follow. McFish, what is that? Kenneth Copeland. I don't really know anything about him. Never really paid attention to him.
Because we have... In the name of Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
Did that clip age well? It's 2 years old now.
I execute judgment on you, COVID-19. I execute judgment on you, Satan. You destroyer. You killer. You get out. We break your power. You get off this nation. I demand judgment on you. I demand.
Are these people sincere?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
They're sincerely making bank.
I mean, this is...
They are, by and large, a dying breed, dying generation.
But do you... Oh, it's got to be nice. Got to be nice.
See, here's the thing. Here's the thing. You want my thoughts on it. I believe that God can and sometimes does do miraculous healing, but it's not every time. And so I pray as though I should pray for that, right? And I know theologically that God wants to heal, but I also know biblically that we don't always know when that is. It could be then when you're praying, or it could be after you're dead and you get a new body and a new life in heaven. And biblically, both those are valid, views. So when I pray, I know that it's ultimately up to God what happens. And so I don't really have a whole lot of... I'm not going to take a stance that whatever I pray, it's going to happen. And yet, sometimes when I do, it does. And like the story I told early, it looks like it's definitely not just, I connected it in my mind, and so that makes it make sense to me that it happened. The story that I told earlier, it's like, I can't think of a good reason why I could have made that happen, or he could have made that happen, right? So I leave room for both, and I know that I've got a friend who oversaw 250 churches. So he talked on a weekly basis with probably 50 pastors, or probably 25 pastors a week. And he just cycle through and touch base every month or so or more with these pastors in small churches and big churches. And we were talking about this very issue, kind of not necessarily about healing, but about just hearing God, right? And it's hard. And he said, and he keeps notes. He's very much more analytical than a lot of people are, which I love about him. And not just analytical, but just detail oriented. And so he keeps notes in his notebook, and he goes back and he looks, okay, this guy told me that he believed God told him to do this with his church. And 6 months later or 3 months later, what's the outcome of that decision that he thinks he heard? And he said, we really don't hear God very well. And I knew that, and he knew that. But he's been watching pastors and saying, yeah, no, they don't seem to do it better than anybody else, right? And so I leave a lot of room for human stupidity and error in that. And yet I do see times when God has spoken clearly to me, and I've followed through on it, and it's worked out exactly as not necessarily exactly what I would have expected, but far better than I would have expected. So I kind of leave room for that. But I see guys that pray to try to somehow involve Satan in a virus and shut down a virus because they're going to pray for it. That's not going to be something that's likely going to happen. It's just not likely going to happen. Not that God couldn't heal a person or a group of people, but a pandemic is something that's going to sweep the world, and it always has biblically too, right? So I just don't put a lot of stock in it. Go ahead, Trax. Go ahead.
No, because the last time I launched into this, it just... Like when I when I launch into these things, it's like... I don't want to belittle someone's faith. I genuinely don't know if God exists, and I know for me at times in my life there have been times where I have turned and prayed because I just felt like, that was the thing to do. Like I was at my wit's end, and it's been very rare, but I can recall times when I've bent to the knees and prayed for sure. I have. I mean, I even said to Miss BNR, I think I said something to Miss BNR.
That you hope God would save you from her wrath? Is that what you were praying for last?
Yeah, mostly. just in what you just said, my intelligence says, so what you're really saying is, if you were to measure out the times you called upon God and you hit, and you credit that as a hit, compared to the times you called out for God and it was a miss, and you credit it as a miss. I mean, just the math dictates. I think you're deceiving yourself.
Well,
but when I say that, I'm being mean. I'm being mean because I don't need to belittle your faith.
You don't think that
And then the other thing I want to say, Doug, so just one thing. The other thing I want to say is, my problem isn't with these twits who get up on stage. My problem is with the retards who want to listen to them. And there's nothing wrong with trying to harness the attention and focus of people to make something happen or to help them through something, which I think ultimately is what this guy is doing. Right? So it's
what he wants.
It's a way of summoning hope.
Yeah.
It's a way of summoning hope, if you like.
Yeah.
But I look at it and I just think, man, you have to be retarded to believe all that.
Well, remember, first of all,
I feel mean saying it.
No, that's okay. So first of all, do you honestly think? Well, you don't probably think that I do, but I am a rational, thinking person, and when I say I believe in God, there is certainly days of my life where I would say, is he really there? Absolutely. I have doubts at times and wonder if I'm just deceiving myself or believing a lie. And yet there's other times when I just I don't feel that way at all. And on the balance, man, they killed me. On the balance, in the balance of my last 40 years of being a Christian and following the teachings of Jesus and the example of Jesus and stuff, I'm better for it in most every way of my life. And I've seen really amazing things happen in people's lives because of things that I've believed. And it's that still small voice, like, is it my voice? Or is it his voice? Is it my internal voice or is it his voice? But it usually tends to be something that sounds more like him than what I would want to do. And when I act on that, and I know that it's biblical because I've read the principles and the things, and I go, well, yeah, I know this is right, but it's not what I feel like doing, but I'm going to do this because I think God's prompting me to do this. Almost all the time, those sorts of things turns out good. The things that don't turn out good are when I pray for things like global pandemic healing. So absolutely, there's a chance that I am absolutely insane and deceived. Granted. The reason I don't think I am completely, I'm partly insane and partly deceived. I'll grant that completely. But the reason I don't think I am absolutely completely deceived is because of the experience of my life weighs in that balance heavier on the side of this is a good thing for me. And God has moved in my life in many ways and worked through my life in many ways. And I look at the universe around me and what is here, it just gives me this sense that there's more to it than just emptiness. And
I think the
disorder.
personals. I think when you identify with the personal connection someone has with faith and God, sounds lovely. But when you see videos like the one McFish posted,
they give me the willies a little bit.
I've been to different churches, right? I've been forced to participate in different churches, right? And I think the Protestant one has probably been the happiest one I've gone to, like the upbeat kind of one I've gone to. But I will say that Christianity, my experience of Christianity as preached to an audience is, I'm sorry to say, it's pretty lame. If you go to a synagogue...
And by what do you mean by that? Like, what does that mean? Like, what's preached? What do you mean? I'm just kind of not sure what you're...
Well, there's a priest or someone up there representing faith in the Word of God or whatever, or, the knowledge of whatever, and he wants to tell you something for the week. Most of what I've heard, and, I've probably gone 12 times in my life, right?
Yeah.
Most of my experience of that has been pretty lame. Like, just doesn't make me want to believe in God.
Well, this is an interesting conversation to come in on.
But when I've gone to synagogue or read about Buddhism, I'm far more inclined and more interested in that message. Buddhism mostly focuses the intellectual side of it, not so much the religious side, the philosophy of it. It vibrates with me. The Buddhist philosophy
resonates.
So to speak. Yeah. Whereas and synagogue, possibly because I grew up in that faith, that I'm used to how it's the production of what happens in synagogue. I might just be used to it or therefore biased towards it. But when I've gone into the various Christian churches, it just, to me, my experience always usually leaving, it's been pretty lame. There's only been twice in my life I can point to a service that actually that has touched me or moved me, so to speak. Yeah. Most of them, what the person at the top there has talked about, it just comes across as lame. But that's.
See, I've been privileged to be at some really amazing churches and have some really amazing pastors, and some of them are theologian level pastors, not just they're great preachers, but some of both. And I've certainly been in rooms where the pastor was a terrible speaker and wasn't saying anything that I really thought was useful to anybody. So, and I get that. And I've had plenty of chapel services at the Bible college I went to where I thought, why are they letting this guy speak at all? So it goes back, I think, to that same thing of, for me, at least, where 90% of my college professors are ho-hum or okay, and 10% are amazing, and 20% are not very good at all, right? And I think that's true of, brain surgeons, sadly, and probably not as many brain surgeons make it that far, but doctors and plumbers and electricians and pastors and bricklayers and everything else. There's people that are just naturally talented and gifted at communicating, and those that aren't, and those that work harder with what they have. I've got a friend who's one of the best speakers I could ever want, and he was probably the best youth pastor speaker I ever heard, and I thought he was great already. And he videotaped himself one Sunday morning to see what he was doing, to see if he could improve, just so he could communicate better. And he said he almost quit preaching. He thought he was so bad. So some people work really hard to be really good communicators. Most of them have never thought to do that. And that's kind of sad, but they're usually there because they have a heart to help people, not because they're necessarily gifted, which goes back to one of my problems with that we've had with pastors is they have a heart to help people, but they're not qualified because they have so much garbage in their in their growing up years that they bring into everything they do and say, that they do harm to the very people they're trying to help. And I've worked underneath pastors like that 3 times, and it's horrible. And there's nothing you can do about it other than leave the church. Because, well, in some churches, the way they do it is they have a board that can hire and fire the pastor. In the denomination I was part of, the pastor was appointed from the people above him. So in order to get rid of a bad pastor, it was a lot harder to do, to get done. But that's an advantage if you've got a pastor that probably is doing a good job, but the people you've got a power group that wants to be in charge, and then they can't oust him that way. And the church might shrink for a little bit, and then it'll grow and grow and grow and grow. So it can, it's a double-edged sword. There's no perfect way to set up a group like that or a church like that. But I totally know what you mean. I mean, most churches, I think, it's like I don't go to church. I'd prefer to go to church where the pastor's brilliant speaker, and I love everything about it, and the worship's fantastic, of course. But Jennifer and I, most of our married life, have chosen to go to churches where the pastor is an okay speaker, and they need people to help.
He's just
and so we invest in the people and in the church, and the quality of the teaching. I don't have to have a pastor teach me. I know how to study the Bible better than most pastors do, and so I don't need that. I'm there to serve, and my relationship isn't funneled through. One of the nice things about the Protestant Reformation is versus the Catholic Church is that I am part of the priesthood of all believers. I get to go before and directly talk to God instead of going through the priesthood to do that.
Here, right?
Whether it's to ask for forgiveness or to ask for guidance or whatever, and I don't have to go to my senior pastor or through my senior pastor to do that. I can do it myself. And as a person who's been in ministry, that's what I've always done. Now, certainly if there's a good, lead pastor that is taking the church a certain direction, and that's all good, I'm certainly on board to help that happen. But I don't depend on the leader of that congregation to somehow make my relationship with God anything. That's between me and God. But for you walking in, or anybody walking into a church that is just checking it out, that's a whole different thing, right? Because you're not going to have that kind of framework or thinking or expectation or even belief to go down that road.
Well, the setup is wrong as well because I'm forced to do it. So like the instances where I was forced to do it,
right.
I went to a school called Bellevue Hill, which is a pretty posh primary school. It's a public school, but it's still pretty posh because it's a very upmarket area in Sydney.
Yeah.
And I was forced to go there to that school for about 6 months. This is when I was a kid. My parents were going through a divorce and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it was one of the only schools in the area that was pretty much anti-Semitic.
Engage the board.
They forced everyone to go pick a denomination and do denomination studies and also sit through a service. And I
how often was the service? Like once a week or something?
Once a week. Yeah. And there was a double class of back-to-back class of religious studies of the denomination. And I'm like, I'm Jewish, I don't want to do this, but they
right. But you weren't even really Jewish. You just weren't interested, right?
No. Back then I was.
Okay.
Then I was.
Okay.
I was a kid.
Yeah.
I went to Masada College. And,
okay.
Before that, I was definitely religious.
Yeah.
But and so I mean the setup is kind of wrong. Then the other time I had to do it was when I joined the army. I was an army reservist, and I didn't have a synagogue at Wagga Wagga.
Stay cool.
So you do you have to pick a denomination, and so basically, or you had to clean weapons. So I'm like, well, I'm not an idiot. I'll keep it out of my brain for an hour.
It's funny how the military separates out the idiots from the non-idiots, right? find something terrible to do and try to avoid that.
I got away with there's so many stories I can tell you about what I got away with in the reserves. Anyway, I mean, I definitely played it. So anyway, I'd pick a new denomination each week, and there was I think it was 3 or 4 of them.
They're just
And again, it's a case of maybe the setup's wrong, but
yeah,
my experience of going to synagogue has always been good. And again, maybe because I was born into the religion, and it just resonates or vibrates.
Yeah,
because I'm used to what they do and what they, the stories they tell.
Well, you know some of the meaning behind the liturgy that they have too.
Well, I think it makes sense to me to have, prophets. It doesn't make sense to me to have messiahs.
A lot of kills in our future.
In the Jewish faith, there is a prediction of a messiah. I don't understand the whole God, Son, and Holy Ghost nonsense. I think that's all just nonsense. Yeah, and it's one of the tenets of the Christian religion. Okay, but it just seems to be a lot of make-believe when they talk about the stories of Jesus.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is because a lot of people don't really understand it very well, and so they make it more complex than it really is, but we don't need to go there.
Yeah, and I don't want to... I'm trying to be very careful about what I say, because I really... Like I said, there's a personal practice that people have, and I'm not here to poo-poo that. That'd be...
What you do is you relate your honest experience with the situation.
It's like I'm no longer really connected to the game.
Oh, you got Discode? Disco Ducks?
I'm walking around, but all of the mechs are stationary.
Oh, weird. Hope they're not shooting you because of it.
You DC'd. Or about to DC.
Target spotted.
It looks like we're going upstairs.
Everybody's up here.
My grandparents on my dad's side are all primarily Baptist. But the caveat there is that in my family, religion was something like it was there if you wanted to pursue it, but it was nothing that you actually had to go and it wasn't forced upon you or anything like that. It was an option, but it was never required. My grandmother was actually really good. On my dad's side, was actually really into baptism and went to church pretty much all the time. But my grandfather on his side did not. They weren't together, and he was the type of person. He is the type of person still that is very rural, very rustic in the way of his thinking and stuff like that. He's the type of guy you go to get stuff done. He doesn't really know a lot about modern day stuff, but if it's something like building a shed or painting the side of a house or putting up drywall or something like that, he knows how to do that kind of stuff. If it's cutting lumber, he knows how to do that. He's the type of person that
Don't want to fight. Stay calm.
he is the epitome of the word redneck in every sense of the word. He, however, still thinks of himself as a devout Baptist.
Target spotted.
And the way that he explains it is that he doesn't necessarily have to go to church as long as he is following as long as he is remaining faithful.
Why won't this thing fire?
Get rid of the UAVs upstairs.
Yeah.
This is so many of my shots. Sorry. You can keep talking.
No,
Sorry.
it's cool. I don't know. To me, the only Christian religion that I've actually been around, experienced, has been baptism. And every time I've actually experienced it, the best thing that I've found is for those people to relate to that are in that field are the kind of people or the kind of pastors who, instead of preaching to you, they talk to you.
Sure. And I had a guy like that. So I totally agree.
Thank you, sir.
I don't appreciate being told how to think.
Target spotted.
I do appreciate being or just talking like a normal human being.
Yeah.
Asking questions and getting honest answers.
My dad wouldn't go to church because he hated fire and brimstone preaching, right? And it just kind of turned him off. And I totally get that. And that worked for a season culturally, here in America, but I don't think it was still advantageous even then. Not as effective as other things, and ultimately it doesn't really express the heart of God that we see in the rest of the Bible. Drax, I was going to say that the thing that I used to explain the Trinity, God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, is water, because water is can be solid.
Keep it up.
When it's ice, it can be liquid when it's not, and it can be vapor when it's vaporized, and it's still all water. So one is a physical manifestation when it's solid, and one is a liquid manifestation, and it's still water, and if it's a vapor, it's still water. So Christ becomes, in a sense, then, according to that analogy, and it's a loose analogy, not an exact analogy, of course, the physical form of what is water, or what is God, if he was to take a physical form. And it's really that simple. It's not really much fancier than that.
I still do think, though, that we should take Miss B&R's example and follow it, because he said, when I want to hear the voice of God again, I'll cook pulled pork, because barbecue is a religion.
She's on to something there. That's the beginning of a good cult that I might sign up for.
I'm all for that.
Yeah, I kind of am. I'm being persuaded.
New target acquired.
As far as my own personal beliefs, I don't really prescribe to the Christian religion, mostly because of the fact that, like,
Let me push him.
I don't.
Bring him out.
It's never really mattered to me. I've always done things for myself.
Go.
Whenever I've ever gotten something done, it's been me working hard to get it done.
Well, that's true of a lot of things. So
I am
doing stuff yourself is a good thing, whether you are a Christian or not. Christians don't think God just does stuff for them all the time, right?
Yeah, that's what he fucking said, dude.
Like, for example,
there are some Christians who think that.
Well, I think, do they say that though, Cody, or are they just saying that they are thankful for what comes their way and they're giving God the thanks for that?
No, there are people I have met in real life, or in my personal life, who legitimately think that no matter what goes on in their life, no matter how much hot water they get into, that God will solve their problem for them.
Well, that's funny, because you won't find that anywhere in the Bible.
Oh my God.
They legitimately think that.
Yeah, I can't fix that. Sorry for those people.
I hate using one of my dad's analogies, but not analogies, but one of my dad's phrases he's usually common with is, you can't teach stupid.
No. And a lot of times they get that from, some pastor that's got pretty shallow or bad theology, and he picked it up from somebody else who knows where. And it's not like there are some basics that are kind of fairly consistent throughout different religious orders, but biblically speaking. But in between those, there's a lot of room for people to get creative. And one of my professors, I've said this before the other night, one of my professors always said, wherever the Bible's silent, it's the great breeding ground of man's theology. We tend to make stuff up. But things have progressed, and people don't keep up either. So we have a lot more archaeological information now, which helps inform what some passages meant that we didn't know until just recently. Oh yeah, we lost that fish. Mittens, do you want to join us? Or does anybody else in this stream? Panzer, you want to join us?
I am actually logged in, so I'm going to join you.
All right, come on in. So, like, what the church taught 40 years ago it is in some ways very different. Not necessarily that they've changed a whole bunch of things, but they've tweaked some things that make a big difference, and they have changed a few things. And most all of those are for the better, as far as I can tell. And usually it's because of better archaeological evidence and better hermeneutic study, and just, pounding on each other to come to what's probably right. And it's it's not easy but it's not totally impossible. Some verses we will never know exactly what they mean. Some verses we've learned what they really meant and we were wrong, right? So there's a mix of that.
Oh yeah, it's.
I mean, they're 4,000 years old sometimes.
Verbatim, when you actually sit down and read the Bible verbatim, it is eye-opening. I am agnostic, and I still read the Bible cover to cover.
And see a lot of Christians don't. Which is so crazy. Oh my gosh, Hellbringer, I'll shut up. Has it been 2 hours? Have I been talking for 2 hours?
Well, it's just the pastor in you, you know? The pastor.
The only thing else I'm going to say about it is that the best functions I've actually been to with regards to church, and I'm not talking sermons, the best functions regardless have been community outreach programs in small towns.
Yeah. We used to take our youth group to feed homeless people on one night a month.
No, what I'm talking about is like the church that is down the street from where I grew up. They had a youth outreach program where I think it was Thursday night, you could go there and spend 3-4 hours just meeting people and hanging out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's kind of what I was referring to.
I see. Yeah, well, social. That age is super social anyway, so that's always a good thing.
I think the oldest kid there was 17.
I think, for me, it's always come down to really two very simple things. And you can always kind of tell what's going on in somebody. If it's supposed to be about the big two commandments, loving God and loving people. And if you say you're a Christian and you're not loving people, then you're probably missing something somewhere. And if you say you're loving God but not loving people, you're probably missing something there. Because God makes it pretty clear that you can't really love him unless you are loving people. You can't really be serving him unless you're loving people and serving people. It's really that simple in most cases. And sure, there's lots of other things you could get off onto that are interesting or maybe valuable, but those two things are central to the gospel, central to Christianity, and a lot of Christians get it. And then there's quite a few that get hung up on all my theology has to be right, and yours has to be right, and you have to do all this, and in order to, be blessed by what God wants for you, blah blah blah. And it's like, don't get so complicated that you miss the point.
Come on, game.
And I love talking about theology, and I love talking about that kind of stuff, but it's always for me tempered and brought back to, well, how does that help me love God better, and how does that help me love people better?
Target spotted. Target spotted.
So I just fired, and now my guns are jammed all that time. They're jammed more than they're working most of the time, it seems like.
Frank,
really weird.
Frank was saying that he's noticed that with especially the Mad Cats it's been happening, but like I said, you definitely notice when it happens, you don't notice when it doesn't, so...
No, I've been kind of paying attention. It just seems to, normally it would jam when you get them heated and you've been pumping hard. That was my first shot. I fired, waited, fired, maybe on the third time, and it just locked up, and then it was offline while I'm exposed. It's like,
right arm's already
maybe I'm complaining too much. Nice. I still like the game, PGI. Give me some gift codes.
PGI is the best development company.
They are amazing. They are amazing.
They are great. I love them so
All
much.
hail PGI. Holy great
wrong.
PGI.
Yeah,
worship the PGI.
We love you, PGI.
The only problem I have with PGI is they don't let me love them enough. That's my only frustration with them.
Please start a church and call it PGI, and we'll be there.
First church of PGI.
Tie in Miss B&R's idea of barbecues every week. That'd be awesome.
Target acquired.
Okay, got to get down here. I shouldn't have been going in that much already.
Target spotted.
It's a bad life choice.
Target spotted.
Whoa, that was bad for me. Sorry, Fish. That was dumb. I've actually got to do something, guys. I'm gonna have to jump out. That was so dumb.
Okay, there. I did one shot, and then they all locked up. So am I firing them too fast? Maybe.
Enemy base is being
Well,
you don't have
alpha those.
You don't have to fire them like a UAC, but I mean that's why you do it. Otherwise, use ACs. And I think ACs have got stronger.
See, the right one's
DPS.
jammed.
It's just that UX have higher.
Now they're both jammed.
Yeah. Maybe switch to ACs.
I think they just broke them. I think that's what happened. Because I remember I couldn't use it anymore after they did that pass. And they just made them untenable.
It may be in the March patch, it may not be. There's talk about a couple of different mechs that they've tried, but the other issue is that even if the Gulag or the Cauldron, whatever you want to call them, says this is what we'd like, PGI still basically is the decides whether or not it happens. So
Need assistance.
I just don't like the logic that the Cauldron's using, because I've sort of queried it a few times with different people in it, and it just seems to me because of the restrictions PGI has placed on them, it's not based on the weapon group, it's based on the mech, which means it's based on, you know, a person's point of view. And that while they're very experienced, there are different points of view that gets expressed in there.
Need assistance.
And you can hear it in some people's videos, like Data, for example, where they go, the Cauldron, why on earth would you buff this? But they put it in, they got it buffed. So it just shows to me that there's a bit of divergence within the Cauldron, and these are experienced players.
He killed me.
It seems to be because they're focusing on changes to the variant, not the weapons. But anyway, we still enjoy the game, don't we?
Well, it's almost time for me to quit. I'll switch into some. I just wanted to try this to see if I could make it work again, but I obviously can't. It used to be a beast.
Probably still is. You just have to adjust.
Target.
Yeah, but I can't adjust enough for some of these mechs, some of these changes. Yeah, good to see you.
Oh, just left.
New target acquired.
Lots of light mechs today.
Good kill. Looks like we're losing big time here.
We definitely are. I gotta adjust the hard points where my weapons are made. It's Black Knight.
Target acquired.
These guys are gonna go out in a blaze of glory.
Yep.
Rolling, not much of a hill, but he's rolling. A lot of rolling. Oh boy.
He's breakdancing.
Breakdancing. Well, almost 500 damage, 489.
I took almost 500 damage, but I didn't do it.
I did. I took 424, which doesn't seem like a lot for a big, huge mech to go down with. I wasn't twisting as much as I should have been, probably, though, either.
Twisting, sticking to cover, all
Twist
that good jazz.
and shout. Dun, dun, dun. Hellbringer, you can tune into the Dark Marauder preaching channel after this. That way you can just get an uninterrupted run of mouth blubbering.
I'm sure that would be their favorite.
But you'll have to tithe.
Of course.
Hot dogs will be fine.
Stuff ain't free.
A hot dog now and then. We used to joke about having a drive-through tithe window for people that, didn't want to go to church, but they wanted to tithe. Just would have a drive-up window they could do it.
Was it a hot dog? Was that their price?
No, it's like actual money if they wanted to tithe to the church, but they didn't want to come. We wanted to make it customer friendly like McDonald's would do. So we thought a drive-up tithing window would be a great idea. We were just laughing. I don't think it would be getting a lot of business.
I mean, it could catch on.
Yeah. Especially during COVID, right?
Doubt it, but it could. Which engine do I want? Do I want the 305? Yeah, I want the 305.
Do. I was going to switch mechs.
Waiting?
Yeah, I'm waiting, but I'm going to switch mechs. I think I've taken enough punishment in this for a little bit here.
I'm going to sell an engine or two, and then put a different engine in this Black Knight. It is not fast enough for my taste. Light engine 345. Yes.
All right, I'm way behind on McFish. My grandmother used to listen to those guys. Copeland, is that who it was? Kenneth Copeland? And she used to love Pat Robertson, and Pat Robertson just really not a Pat Robertson fan.
You don't seem too enthused about Mr. Robinson there.
Pat Robertson's it's a part of it's that dying breed thing, and it worked for them, and I feel like they were like Jim and Tammy Faye. Jim, what was it? Tammy, they were kind of, some of these guys are shysters. There's a lot of guys that, like, I know a guy named Wayne Cordero. He's a great guy, great teacher, and he's on the radio. He doesn't make millions of dollars. He's not trying to make millions of dollars. It's just his sermons from his regular church service, and he puts them out there for people who want to hear them, either that can't make it that Sunday or whatever. And he'll never make millions of dollars off that. Not any interest in him. I don't have any problem with people that do that. But these guys that build this whole big televangelism empire, and then they live a different life somewhere else. Now, I can't say that's true about all of them, but some of them it has been the case. Billy Graham was one of the standout stand-up guys. So I got a lot of respect for him and for decades and decades of service. And but he's, and I won't say he's the only one, but he's certainly a standout example of a good one.
I've been having a lot of fun recently. Teaching somebody from Australia American music.
Jim and Tammy Baker, that's right. Hang on one second. Peter Popoff. Was he a kind of a wacko guy? I remember making jokes about him. I don't remember if I ever saw him, but I remember other kids at the college that I was at making jokes about him because he was like pretty far out there. And Benny Hinn. Is that right? No, is Benny Hinn, or is he a comedian? Is there a difference? I don't know. Go ahead, Cody.
Yeah, I've been introducing somebody I've been paying attention to on Twitch here to people like Bob Seger, and
just he doesn't know much American music at all.
And yes, that's exactly correct. He does not know a whole lot about, or correction, she's what they call a muso. He actually does live learns and stuff on her channel, and she plays piano or plays guitar and usually sings.
Is this that for? Okay, back up. I got distracted by the chat over here. I'm going to put you on hold. I'm going to come back to you in just a second. Sorry. This is. Are you talking about Peter Popoff? Was using comms, like he's shyster. Yeah, that's that. The truth is, McFish, is I think that there's a special place in hell, unless God can forgive them. I'm guessing that's going to be tough because the Bible says that Doesn't really say what's going to happen, but it says it'd be better for someone who causes someone to stumble. It'd be better for them to have a stone tied around their neck and cast into the sea than what was going to be in store for them. So he'll get his, is what my expectation is. But yeah, I think that's what we're making fun of. Yeah, I think that's just horrible. It's abysmal.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cody. Sorry.
So I've been teaching this, or I've been putting up live learns for things like Piano Man and Elton John's Rocket Man.
So this, okay, back up. So this is the girl that you gave me a link to that you've been watching.
Yeah,
following.
yeah.
Okay, great.
Yep. She's not very confident on guitar, but she's exceptionally proficient with piano.
Did you introduce her to Jessica's music at all?
I have not yet.
You really should. She might like it. It's different than what she does, but it's, there's a kinship of musicianship there that they might enjoy.
Oh, did you check her out?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I can't even remember. I need to go check her out again because I can't remember what song she was doing that I was listening to.
Well, she's not streaming tonight, but she'll probably be streaming tomorrow.
Or 3 months ago, probably. I can't believe he's still even doing stuff, McFish. Isn't he dead? I mean, that was a long, long time ago, and he was fairly old, I think, then. I remember in one of my classes, the guy, he was one of the good professors, he was talking about some of the shysters during the kind of the spiritual awakening in America in the 50s. Thinking 50s or 40s and 50s, 40s maybe, and people would do things like they would sell holy water from Jerusalem, but it would just be water, right? They put it in a vial or a little bottle and sell this holy water.
Placebo effect.
Yeah, well, it's a lie, is what it is, and some people would, like, you could buy Jack Coe was a really popular evangelist, and he would go around and do tent meetings across America, and you could buy a little piece of cloth canvas from Jack Coe's tent for whatever amount of money if you wanted to support his ministry and stuff. That's I don't really. I think it's fine and great if people want to support a ministry. I don't understand how someone could, why you sell stuff as that. That's kind of like me selling T-shirts for Dark Marauder, which totally makes sense. And I guess I am, in a sense, a sort of a religious fanaticism, cultish leader. But still, it feels like people know it's a bad life choice.
You're just a guy on the internet playing games. That's all it is.
Right. People know it's a bad life choice when they come here and when they support me. So I feel like they've been fairly warned. But if you're preaching the gospel and mixing it up with deceit, that's really evil, I think.
None is evil.
Evil.
Yeah.
Hey, Crimson.
Don't misconstrue the facts. You're just a dude on the internet playing games. That's it.
Yep. Make it simple.
I don't think I'm evil. Twisted? Yeah. Strange? Oh yeah, probably so.
You don't, and the best part about this, the fact that you're on Twitch and stuff like that, is you're not even doing it to make money. You're doing it because it's fun.
But I bring in the money.
Yep.
The bucks roll in. I have 3 subscribers.
Oh yeah, so you've got a total of $15 that you're not going to see because you don't get paid unless you make over 100.
No, I only make half of that, so I make $7.50 a month. Plus,
exactly.
Brink-a-Man comes in and drops $1 now and then, and Frankenmitten sometimes drops $1 a bits and stuff. So I'm planning my Bahama vacation home right now.
it's only going to take you another 40 years to earn it through Twitch revenue.
Shoot, I don't plan on living that much longer, unless I really hope that they get the aging problem fixed in the next 10 years or so, and we'll get to live longer. I think they will.
Or you just assemble yourself as a mech and you live on.
Yeah.
A mech? You download yourself into a bionic brain. I'm not really for that. I'd rather have a body. And I don't know how good they're going to be at downloading your
we'll just turn you into
personality.
a Centurion.
And I don't know if it's going to be easy to actually have a simulated consciousness, because we just keep finding out more and more how complicated the brain is. They just found how neurons, the connections between neurons, the synaptic connections, actually do logic processing on their own before information even gets through to the neuron. Like there's like 100 different connection processing things going on in a synapse.
It's way more than that.
That's per synapse.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just, and then they've also got like when our brain, as we think, our brains create a matrix of connections that's 10 layers deep, and then it dissolves it and then builds another one. So it's building up models or representations, maybe not models, is probably not the right word, in real time over and over again, and tearing down and building back up to do things. Really amazing stuff, and we're still just simulating neurons and basic logic stuff. Even in we've got fancy processors and stuff, that not that they're not effective at doing things, but to simulate consciousness is a whole, we don't even know what consciousness is yet.
Target destroyed.
And the target just keeps getting harder and harder to handle or understand. Or maybe we're understanding more, but it's getting more complex, I guess is the right way to say it.
Looks like only half of the enemies remain.
We're running out of enemies, guys. We might have to start shooting for enemies.
Somebody tried to get her to learn Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. That was an experience. She did most of the song, she just didn't do the transition.
Target destroyed.
And the transition is honestly the hardest part of that song.
Stairway to Heaven, that's an old song.
Yeah. So is Old Time Rock.
You said she's mainly comfortable on the piano, not guitar?
Yeah.
Target acquired.
She's learning guitar, but it's not as fast, or it's not as she's not as proficient as she is on on piano.
Target acquired. Target destroyed.
Hey, I got a kill, finally.
We did get her to learn Hotel California on guitar.
Jessica needs to start taking piano and guitar lessons, because she didn't do it while she was in college, and she really probably should have. But she was kind of slammed. JCM McLean. John, is that John McLean? I don't listen to Roger Penrose very often, but I have followed him a little bit, and I haven't looked at that. But I know that his theories on, he has a theory on, what does he call it? It's basically a similar thing to a cyclical Big Bang, where over trillions of years it recycles and rebangs and then recycles and rebangs and stuff. Which I'm not really sold on, but I haven't looked at his stuff on consciousness directly. I was just referring to the newer research that they've uncovered some of this really amazing complexity that they weren't even aware was happening.
What's that gonna do?
It's where the name comes from. What, consciousness comes from Sir Roger Penrose? I didn't know that, if that's what you're saying. Hellbring, if I had money, I'd donate. Hellbring, you need to fix your abode. You don't need to sub to me. I think people who sub to me actually get penalized by Twitch, so just be careful. John McClane. Okay, it does come from John McClane. I thought you were talking about Roger Penrose. Thank you. So then obviously the answer to the question, is Die Hard a Christmas movie, is yes, of course it is. Consciousness is not computational. Yeah, I do agree with that, and I have not heard him talk about it. But yeah, I definitely agree with that. Now, that I don't take the standpoint that we could never create some sort of consciousness electronically, but I suspect, and I think there's some evidence for this now, that we're going to find that consciousness also is involved with quantum physics properties too. For example, photosynthesis requires, or they've discovered in plants, there's a quantum switch that keeps the photosynthesis chain, that if there's too much light, it flips a switch that protects the rest of the mechanism, the atomic mechanism of atoms, from being destroyed by the light going through it. And so it switches to a different state so that it can still function in the intense light without destroying itself. And it works at it. It's a quantum switch. And I think we're going to find more and more things as we delve into some of this stuff that we're learning and start tearing it apart. I think we're going to find quantum properties are being done in consciousness too. Don't know what that means. Don't know where that'll be. Hardly am I a neural, surgical specialist and stuff. But I kind of watch the different articles go by and I think, oh, well, that makes sense. That would be in other places too. We'd probably find that. So I'm making very broad generalizations, and I'm making quantum leaps based on my own fanciful imagination. And I'll do brain surgeries for low price if you'd like me to do that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Dark Marauder brain surgery in the back of a van in the mall parking lot. Let's go.
It's not a van. it's a fancy Winnebago.
It's a van. Don't even.
It's a motor home. It has like a kitchenette in it and a refrigerator to keep the brain tissue, free. Do you know that I think they did a study where they transplanted. They've actually been doing, I think, pig and dog head transplants, right? Where they cut like Star Trek and Mr. Spock, only not the brain itself, but the whole head. With dogs and with pigs. They started doing this like 10 years ago, I think. I would think it'd be a lot harder to do a whole brain transplant. It's better to just cut it at the spinal cord, I think. And I know there's like some technology now that one of James Tour's companies has developed, that they use flash graphene to graft severed spinal cords, so that I guess the electrons can flow through or along it, and it lets the nerves regrow if there's been a severed spinal cord, so they can heal people that are words.
That's why the game is running.
They can heal people who have been crippled or made paraplegic or whatever in certain types of instances with this flash graphene treatment. Pretty amazing.
Nothing heals the soul more than a tasty burger.
What's a tasty burger?
Juicy ones with lots of cheese.
Wait, you had a tasty burger today?
No.
You want one?
Yeah, I'm hunting in my home today because my manager was test positive for COVID.
Oh no.
And yesterday he just coughed right in front of my face. Thank God I have my mask on, but still. Yep.
That's inconsiderate, is what that is.
Well, he probably didn't. Did he know he was infected?
No, until this morning. So yeah.
It's just rude to cough on somebody.
Yeah, the coughing is still not right.
Well, Crimson, don't worry. It's not the cough that carries you off. It's the coffin they carry you off in.
Yeah.
That said, on the subject of burgers, the best burgers are flat top burgers. You cannot convince me otherwise.
What? Flat toppers like on a griddle?
No. Well, on a
griddle.
Flat top, as in like there's no holes in the surface. It's a flat metal top.
No, I think I like that charbroiled, flame broiled burger. I just do.
Can you just put it on a photo pencil? I don't know how does it look like. I never have one.
He wants to see it now.
I will when I'm not shooting mechs. How's that?
Yeah, sure. Later. No problem.
Target spotted.
Yes. I'm sorry, but you cannot convince me that there is a better burger than a flat top burger that's finished in a broiler.
Charbroiled.
No problem for me. Because my country is full of multiple cultures, so any burger that's not tasty to me, I'm fine with it.
The best burgers don't need condiments. They're good on their own.
Yep.
Is cheese considered a condiment?
No,
Cheese
but then
more like
again, you can
bonus.
actually choose which kind of cheese you want on a burger. That's the caveat.
Yeah. But usually cheese, you have to pair it with the right meat. And depends how you cook the meat. You pair it with different cheese, you have a different outcome.
Well, it'll just taste different. It'll still be a burger.
Yeah, but based on the cheese texture and the taste, it will be much different too.
That is
I'm
true.
trying to shoot at a guy I can't see.
But
I'm gonna
I
shoot
don't
this
think there is
stalker
a wrong kind of cheese to put on a burger.
I do like
think
Swiss
smoked
better than
Gouda
a
would
lot
be a
of
bit
them.
weird.
No, smoked
No,
cheese
that'll
goes
work.
great on a burger. Yeah, that works perfect.
You probably can't
Or
get that on a
Cheddar,
flat top.
smoked Gouda. Yeah, especially if you're doing it on a flat top, because you get that smoky flavor too.
Or you use the burn torch to burn off the cheese and slide it down on the burger.
I've killed
That's
two
awesome
mechs.
too.
Get it nice and bubbly. Yeah.
So
Yep.
we've gone from religious discussions to food discussions.
It all
Your
circles
chat
back
is
to
gonna be
food.
hungry and confused all at the same time.
Yeah.
I will argue that food can be a religious conversation.
It's food
It
for the
can't.
soul, and food
Yeah,
for
it's
the
a soul
food for the
comfort.
body.
Like that movie Soul Food.
So,
Yep.
Panzer, you know what the agnostic, dyslexic insomniac does at night, don't you?
Had her on the wall.
Stays up and plays Mechwarrior.
Nope. He lays awake, wondering if there really is a dog.
Yep. But most of the time, no. He just stays up and plays video games. Because that's me. Other than the dyslexic part. Ow.
Guys,
Hey,
we're
that's a
losing.
Fafnir.
Jesus.
That's a Fafnir. Hello, sir.
There's a Yangerman with dual AC-20. You guys have to be careful. I just got
I'm
one
not
shot.
worried about the Jaeger. I was worried about the Fafnir that took off a side torso in one salvo because dual heavy Gauss.
Okay. So they have two bursters.
But yes, flat top burgers to me are the best. Hands down, bar none.
Artillery strike online.
And
Critical damage.
arugula is the superior lettuce, not romaine.
I don't mind romaine, but I just like crispy, regular lettuce. What do you call it? It's just regular
Romaine
lettuce.
lettuce is just edible water.
Heat level critical.
Uh-oh, I shut down. I didn't want to shut down yet. No! I can feel the jaws of defeat.
Funny. I searched for flat burger and it came out Flat Burger Society, a restaurant in somewhere of US.
I think they're all coming for me.
Heat level critical. Left
Darn
torso
it.
destroyed. Left arm destroyed.
I'm gonna die. I can feel it coming. It's coming.
Heat sink destroyed.
White burger.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Couldn't even see him. He's got that little stealthiness.
Do this. I will wave to you with the cool little emote thing, because I still think that's adorable. And then I will show you what a flat top is.
Center torso.
Oh, they got me.
Oh.
But I did 855 damage and 2 kills.
So what's on that flat top is smash burgers, which are good too, but it's
What's a
not
smash
the same
burger?
as what I'm talking about.
Where you smush it down?
Yeah.
It was a ball shaped meat, then you push it down, become flat. Is that what you mean?
You don't want a smash
that would
burger
be a
because
smash burger.
it oozes all the juices out of it. That's bad.
Yep.
Well, no.
No.
If you do it right and you actually put a lid over it, it actually reabsorbs all those juices because steam is a thing.
Yep.
Yeah, but if you squeeze the fat out of it, you've lost all those juices and the steam's not going to put that back in. I'm not nope. Can't do it. Can't squish the juice out of a burger.
Now, when I'm talking about flat top burgers, I'm not talking about smash burgers. Smash burgers have their place, but it's not what I mean when I talk about a flat top burger.
Right.
A flat top burger to me is okay. So what we used to do to prep our burgers in the restaurant that I used to work at was we would take
good kill, squirrel.
We would take, or rather than trying to like hand burgers, we would take like the whole roll of ground beef and we would cut it into 8 to 10 sections, depending on or how heavy it weighed, and that would be your burger. You would get one patty that was basically just a section of the roll of ground beef. That was
So you didn't have to form it that way. It's basically already around and you cut it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you cook it on the flat top to your desired temperature via steam, and then you just finish it in the salamander.
But then you don't get to caramelize the beef unless if you're steaming it.
Well, you also cook bacon and stuff next to it too. So
yeah. So here's what you should try, because I always recommend this. It's a great burger. You get 2 patties, pretty good size, and then you flatten them thinner than you normally would think you ever should. And then you, so they're pretty big around, probably about 6 inches around. And then you put diced onion and diced mushrooms and some ground cheese of your choice, Swiss or cheddar or whatever, and a little bit of Johnny's seasoning salt, and maybe even some chopped green bell peppers. And you put those in there, in the center, and then you take the other patty and you put it on top, and then you pinch them together and make it into
you're making a stuffed burger.
You're making a stuffed burger. And then you grill that on the grill, and all the stuff inside melts and cooks, and all the juices and stuff are inside, and they infuse the meat with flavor, and then you eat it, and it drips everywhere, and everyone is happy except for the people watching you eat it.
Funnily enough, my mom was actually the first person to introduce me to that, and it was not it's not fully what you described, but it's a similar vein. Instead of it was a blue cheeseburger, and she put the blue cheese inside the burger.
If I like blue cheese, that would be great. I just can't do rotten stuff.
Yeah.
Dark, you should try pork salute.
I should try what? Pork what?
Pork salute. It's a soft cheese, but it's
if
sweet.
it tastes like rotten cheese, I don't think I'm going to eat it.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Trust me, you're going to like it. It tastes slightly sweet, and it's a perfect mix with meat.
Write the name of it in chat so I can go look for it.
Especially during this time of the year, is a good corned beef Reuben.
I'm not a Reuben fan. Jennifer really loves Reubens. And we have a couple restaurants here in town that make great Reubens. She makes a good Reuben. I actually will eat her Reuben. But she makes really good everything. It's disgusting.
It's not disgusting because you get to eat. So
I know, but I'm hardly svelte because of it.
Nah, you're just fat and happy. It's all good.
Yep. Yeah, it's
of course, salute cheese will look like this. Let me screenshot and put it on the Ghostlands chat.
Ghostlands. Oh, I'm supposed to go to bed. It's almost 1. What am I doing? What is wrong with me? I should have just quit on that Gosh.
Yeah.
Talking about
You're
food.
so neat.
I don't think I even said
cheeseburger
hello
now.
to Pyro. Pyro's been sitting in here for like an hour and a half, right? Hour?
So is Crimson.
Gosh, I'm a failure. I don't look that far. I look at chat. It's like I have to get clear over to here in order to see the.
It's okay, Dark.
comms.
We know you can't multitask for anything.
I can't. My wife says that too, and I don't disagree with any of you. You're all correct. I think I used to be able to multitask when I was younger.
Proof. It's recorded.
It's recorded over and over again.
So Doc, if you want to make the beef patties with the cheese inside, you have to try this one.
Okay.
You're gonna love it.
Hands are
Thank
frozen.
Howdy, everybody. Well, I should have quit on that last match. I mean, 800 and some damage and 2 kills. I'm not gonna likely do better than that. Crimson, did you see my screen cap, or Pyro? Did you see my screen cap I put in Ghostland's chat?
Actually, wouldn't that
I did. That was very nice.
Woo! That was like 3-4 years ago. It's never gonna happen again. It's all over.
Who knows? It might happen again.
All downhill from there.
It's all downhill. That was the pinnacle of my Mechwarrior career.
Oh, it's very simple. We just leg the mech and then let Doc finish him off, so he would do the maximum damage.
That's how that all happened. Probably.
Send something in D4. Yep.
You guys probably helped me the whole time.
Clam, you awake?
Target spotted.
So after this one, you're definitely going to bed, right?
Yes. None of this horsing around stuff.
Artillery strike.
We'll see.
I am. I have to go to bed.
Matt, place bets. Will he actually go to bed or not?
He will.
Let's do it. Let's do it. It sounds fun.
Wow, that was easy.
Target spotted.
Target acquired.
Oh, there's Direwolf there.
Yep. Watch out for it. He's trying to poke out his
I
head.
don't think I want to be that close to things.
Oh, hang on.
Marauder.
Ouch.
We have a stealth armor sniper sniping from
Ouch,
the back
there's a
of
pole
the map.
in the way. I'm not going to stay here.
There's a sniper hitting with dual gauss from like Echo 2 up on the ridge.
I saw him, the shadow cat. He was shooting me hard.
Target spotted.
New target acquired.
Target spotted.
I'm happy to try to shoot the piranha.
Foxtrot.
Working on him.
Yeah, the cover.
Did you kill that guy under there? Nice.
No, he ran off.
Oh.
Both the Direwolf and the Warhammer. Yeah, I'm pretty bad. Ow! Jesus.
Foxtrot City.
Target destroyed.
Thank you.
Ooh! I just sniped that kill. Nice.
Nice.
I wasn't even fully aimed at him.
Target destroyed.
I'm dead. Oh! I got overheat. Ah! I almost killed that Warhammer. One shot away. Oh no, he got stuck with a... What was that mag again? Hunchback?
Oh, I got killed by a light behind me. That was fast.
Wow! What was that?
Watch the light behind you. Why can a light kill me that fast? It just doesn't make sense.
It's a machine gun.
I can't even do a back shot with all of my lasers and kill somebody that fast.
Oh, Shadow Cat India is...
What does that Piranha do? They chip me off one by one.
Target acquired.
Target spotted.
Aw, lame.
Is that the
McLean,
Direwolf?
I'll go check out that pen. Is it a YouTube video? Is there a link? Can you
No.
share a link?
It was not the Direwolf.
I would enjoy that.
I killed the Direwolf.
Nice start.
Oh, nice.
Mostly healthy.
Unless you kill him.
Side shot, dual large pulse in the CT.
Oh, nice.
I thought it was really cool. I torso twisted and like I did that thing where like you extend the arm way past where your CT is looking, and you like hit him while you're walking away.
5%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, heavy laser is crazy.
New target acquired.
Jesus.
This guy radio star is having
Sniper position.
Yeah.
Acquired.
He's wrecking it hard. But I guess he has a heat-sink problem.
We have to circle.
Last one is probably that sniper at Echo 2 I saw.
No, I think it's that Night Star. Is Night Star dead?
Yeah, sniper E5.
No, I think they got
E2,
the
what?
Shadowhawk or the
E2, be coming in from E3.
Dogal Shadowcat.
Yeah. If you guys press H, you can use thermal, and you might be able to pick him up better. If he's using stealth armor, it'll be hot. Or
25%.
No, stealth armor hides your feet.
okay, then he'll be cold, and he'll reflect on the rest of the map.
It makes you blend.
One.
Good work, guys. Thanks for the drop. Okay.
Buddy.
John McClane, I hope you have a link for me. I would check it out. It'd be fun. Like that kind of stuff. I could maybe check it out in the next few days. Working on a couple of music videos this next week, and I've got a photo shoot I got to do too. It looks like. So I hopefully we'll get to it soon though. I can just maybe go look.
Stark, when did you start modeling?
Well, I'm doing the photoing, I'm doing the shooting, not the modeling. Not much demand for old guys in modeling, unless you look like George Clooney.
I don't know. Mike Rowe has had quite a few decent interviews too.
On consciousness?
Hmm?
Mike Rowe of Dirty Jobs. I don't think he's been interviewed on consciousness, I don't think. So, hey, McFish, thanks for the drops. Crimson, thanks for the drops. Panzer, good to see you again. I haven't seen you for a while. I was getting worried about you. Thanks for the drops. And then everybody in chat, John McClane, Hellbringer, thanks for the drops also. And who else we got besides Miss BNR, of course, and Drax. And there's probably some other people up here that I saw come in and talk to a little bit, but I don't know where they went, so I can't remember their names.
They all ran away. You scared them off.
I know. I totally get that. Dave GT, there's one. Seems like there was somebody else too. Anyway, thanks so much to everybody. See you next time, and hopefully that'll be soon. This has been Ghostlands, your favorite place to waste the best moments of your life. Woohoo! 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 Good night, Miss BNR. Sleep well. Do 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 do. Oh, I just turned the snow on. I don't need the snow on. First time chat was kind of
I don't need any more snow.
No, I don't need more snow. I like the snow though. It takes up CPU cycles.
I need snow here.
Good night, guys.
So hot in my country. Good night.
Port Salute.